we believe that respecting the dream of home ownership and helping our clients achieve that dream is key. Before we kick off, I do want to address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room, if you've watched the news, if you've gone through Facebook, you've had any articles, you've probably seen a few key things. These go through interest rates rising, the cost of construction rising, material supply and demand issues. You've probably read articles about labour shortages, and you've seen various construction companies face some adversities. Pretty scary stuff, especially if you're a first home buyer. Now, for the hard truths, it is true, interest rates are rising. People's borrowing power is decreasing. Doesn't mean that you can't get into your first home. We've seen land costs increase over the last 12 months. Land is an appreciating asset, so you would naturally expect land last year versus land this year to have gone up in price. We have seen a world shortage of materials and labour. Simply put, more houses are getting built than there is people that's needed to build them and materials needed to actually go through the build. And then the cost of building a home last year versus building a home today is more expensive for that fact. We believe that building a house is a long-term partnership. You're going to be spending some time in the journey with this construction company, with your real estate agent, whoever it is. And we believe that it's super important that you find the right person. So, before we kick off, can I get a raise of hands? Who here is looking at building or buying a house and has done some research? Yep, awesome. Who finds that a little bit confusing? Yep, beautiful. And can I get a raise of hands if you are a little bit overwhelmed by the whole process? Amazing. You're not alone. So if you look around the room, you are absolutely not alone. We've recently conducted a survey at Porter Davis, specifically with people looking at entering the market. And the two key themes that came up over and over were buyers did not feel like they were educated enough to make the right decisions, and when they were, they felt overwhelmed. It's a lot of information to go through, and I'm sure walking around today, you're going to get heaps more. So we're going to break it down for you. But before I do, let's go back to that cake that you were baking for your friend's housewarming. If I asked you to bake a cake for the very first time, never having baked one before, would you feel comfortable? I'm going to assume you probably wouldn't, especially if it was an important event you were taking the cake to. What if I gave you a list of instructions and ingredients and supplied you the ingredients? Would you feel more comfortable? Yep. And what if, as a professional baker, I sat there and helped you bake the cake? Would you feel more comfortable? The answer is yes, right? And that's what we are today. We're going to talk about building yourself a bunch of experts that help you around the journey. So what I want you to do, and if there's one thing you take away from today, it's this. When building your house, you're going to want to build yourself a toolkit of experts. There are going to be 3 key experts in 3 areas that we are going to explore today. The first one is someone who specializes in finance, someone who specializes in housing, and last but not least, someone who specializes in land. We're going to start off by talking all things finance. Now, there's a lot of information that I'm about to unload onto you guys, so if you have questions, please do come and see us. Finance, super important, and one of the very first things that you need to be doing in your home buying journey. The amount of people we see that start the home buying journey without having spoken to a bank or a broker and start shopping is enormous. By understanding your finances early in the game, you're able to really establish what it is that you can afford and what that looks like as far as your end goal. Speak to a professional in this sense. Your first person that you're going to need in your toolkit is a finance specialist. We always get the question, the good old question, do I speak to a bank? Do I speak to a mortgage broker? Well, we think both options are great. I do want to put something into perspective for you though. When you speak to a bank, they're only able to show you the bank options that are available to them, right? So stick with me. The bank options that are available to them, the loans that they provide, the type of services that they provide, and so on. When you're speaking to a mortgage broker, you simply have more options. You get access to a wider range of lenders, and your mortgage broker is able to actually go through and show you what options are best suited. Your bank or your mortgage broker at this stage is going to work out your borrowing capacity. They're going to look at things like how much you're spending, what your annual income is, how many times you look at Uber Eats, how many times you use Afterpay, all that type of stuff, and they're going to do a bit of a serviceability for you. They're going to check to see how much you can borrow and if you're able to actually afford the repayments. Savings. If you've been at this stage said, yep, you're good to go, you've got a steady job, it's happy days, how much savings do you actually need to get into the market? You can get into the market for as little as 5%, right? So pretty good stuff. 5%, so if you're looking at a purchase price of about 600K, you're looking at $24,000, so not too bad. You've got a bunch of government incentives that may be applicable to you, and it's important that you get a thorough understanding of what these are because they can actually save you thousands and help you get into the market a little bit earlier. The first home owner's grant is the first one I'm going to talk about. Does anyone know what this grant is? Just a raise of hands. A few of you? Perfect. Ultimately, for first home buyers, the government gives away $10,000 to first home buyers building in Victoria. And if you're looking at regional Victoria, that goes up to a whopping $20,000, which is pretty good. The next one is a home buyer duty exemption concession or a reduction. So ultimately, if you're buying a property that's under $600,000, you get an exemption on paying stamp duty as a first home buyer. So again, stamp duty savings. The last one is a fairly new one, which is the first home guarantee. Does anyone know what LMI stands for, or LMI means? A few of you. It's pretty much an insurance that you pay on your finances if you're borrowing more than or less than 80%. So in this instance here, the government will guarantee up to 15% of your mortgage, which means you don't need to pay LMI, which again, will save you thousands. We've also got the Home Buyer Fund and the Family Home Guarantee Scheme. If you guys want to find out more about, please come and see us. So where to from here? You've spoken to a bank or a broker. You've got your first specialist in your toolkit. You know how much you can borrow, and you start looking around. You pretty much have three options to move around from. The first one is purchasing an established property. Your next one is buying something off the plan, and your third one is building brand new, okay? Buying and building are both going to have pros and cons for each one. When you're looking at buying an existing and established property, you're going to be looking at potentially purchasing something a little bit older, something that you don't quite know what sits behind the plaster walls. You don't know if there's any ongoing issues with it, but you do know that you can move in quicker. It's a quicker process. Locations are generally closer to the city when you are looking at buying established, and you generally will get a larger block. When you're building, you get a little bit more flex. So when you build brand new, you're generally going to get a builder's warranty. So you don't need to worry about all of those hidden secrets of, I move in and all of this stuff I need to pay for now. You can generally customize it as well and really make it your own. And from here, you do need to think about things like the wait. So sometimes purchasing a brand new build, you will actually have to wait a little bit. If you've decided to build, this is pretty exciting. You need to align yourself with a company that represents what you stand for. Like I was saying before, building is a long-term partnership. Buying is a long-term partnership. So you really do want to make sure that you align yourself with the right company. Once you've selected the company, you want to select a house. this is where the toolkit of the house specialist comes in. You're going to align yourself with someone who genuinely cares, someone that wants to help you make that move and get into the marketplace. You want to be asking yourself things like, what is the purpose of this home, right? Is this house a house that you're going to live in for 5 years? Is this your forever home? Is it an investment home? Is it a home only to get into the market? You want to ask yourself questions like, do I entertain a lot and therefore need bigger entertaining areas? Do I like to cook and therefore need a bigger kitchen? Do I plan on having children in the future and therefore need extra bedrooms? Am I going to be working from home a lot and therefore may need a study? You also want to make sure you future-proof your house. And this is a big one because I see it happen all the time. People come in and they start wanting to customize their house. And what looks like a 4-bedroom house very quickly becomes a 1-bedroom house with a massive entertaining area. And you tell them, you go, hey, listen, for resale, most people won't want this house. Most people are going to want bedrooms. So just think about making smart decisions if that is going to be you. Let's understand what happens when you build a house. When you build a house, for most of the time, the price that you see advertised online isn't the full and total cost, right? So you need to be transparent when asking the questions. Most of the time you're going to see a base price. You're going to see a facade cost, which is ultimately the look and feel of the outside of your house. You're going to have things like estate covenants, which we'll touch on in a sec, site costs, bushfire, and any additional upgrades. These will all contribute to the end price of your house. You need to work within your budget. As a first home buyer and someone who loves watching the block, I want everything in my house too. I really, really do. But sometimes if you're working within a budget, you need to be smart about how you spend your money. So when I say stuff like, think about that 4th bedroom versus maybe the fancy stone bench tops. Or think about that alfresco area as opposed to the really expensive flooring. Things that you can do cosmetically after you get the house will be cheaper for you in the future to change than building something like that 4th or 5th bedroom down the track. Once we've got the house component done, you want to start thinking about land. Does the word land estate resonate with anyone? A little bit? Perfect. If you're realistically building a new house, you're going to be looking in the outer suburbs. So these are areas that are currently under development. And what these areas are called are estates. You're going to have different builders or different developers delivering a particular location. These locations will have different amenities. So when you pick the right location to lay your roots down, you want to look at things like, what future amenities are they going to provide? Are they going to have train stations? Are they going to have public transport? Is there going to be things like schools, shopping centres, all of that type of stuff? Once you've found the right location, the right estate to live in, you're going to pick the right block. And picking the right block will save you thousands of dollars, and here's why. You're going to look at site costs, estate covenants, corner lots, and body corporate fees. So we'll touch on these as we go through. The first one is site costs. So when you build a house, you're going to need a flat surface to be able to put the house on. Fortunately, most builders aren't going to build on a slant. Site costs will be your biggest impact as far as your build costs go when the foundation is concerned. Things like cutting and filling and all that kind of stuff, which, happy to go through with you at the stand, will be a big impact on cost. The next one is estate covenants. These are a list of items that the developer will apply to the particular location. So for example, the estate might have a particular look and feel. So they might say, hey, every single house that is being built here needs a specific type of roof that goes on, a specific type of coloured brick, a specific this or a specific that. These can all cost additional money. The next one is corner lots. We all love corner lots. I myself love corner lots and I have a corner lot, but it's important to understand if you're working within a budget, corner lots may cost you a little bit more money in the long run. And the reason is simple. Most of the time, when you're building on a corner lot, the front of your house needs to be replicated on the side of your house. So for example, things like windows will need to match on the side of the house. So there's a bit of street appeal on both fronts. And this can cost extra money. And then the last one to look out for is body corporate fees. Body corporate fees are an ongoing yearly cost, right? And they're great, but you want to make sure that it's something that you're actually going to use or go through. So some particular locations will have a gym, a golf course, swimming pools, all of that kind of great stuff. And you want to make sure that you're going to use this stuff, otherwise you are paying an annual fee that you're not going to get much use of. If that all seems a little bit complicated, there's always house and land. Most builders will offer house and land options, including us here at Porter Davis. So house and land ultimately is going to be where the builders found the block of land, they've placed a house on it for you, and generally speaking it will be fixed price. So everything will be upfront and ready for you to actually disclose. When we talk about deposits and we talk about land, it's important to understand most cases you're going to have two contracts. You're going to have a house contract and you're going to have a land contract. And therefore you'll most of the time need two deposits. One deposit for the house, which is about 5%, and one deposit for the land, which is generally between 5 to 10%. So just factor that in. And the last one that we're going to talk about when it comes to land is titles and timeframes. Who here knows what titled versus untitled means? Just a raise of hands, a few of you, perfect. Titled land ultimately means that your land is ready to be built on. It's something that is actually registered and it's got your name on it. Untitled land is land that is currently under development, which isn't a bad thing because you can snap yourself a pretty good bargain, but it does mean that you do have to wait. Sometimes land titles can take anywhere from 6 months, 12 months, 13 months, and so on. So if you are planning on being in your house, this is something that you need to factor in within your own timelines. So how can we help? How can Porter Davis help you get there sooner? The first one is finance. We're partnered with Mortgage Advice Bureau, who are our preferred finance partner. These guys will be able to go through a free consultation and give you your borrowing capacity. Remember, we talked about finance being the first step in your journey, and these guys will help you break that barrier. So they're going to be able to tell you how much you need to save if you haven't saved already. They're going to be able to tell you how much you can borrow and what your repayments are potentially going to look like. They're going to be able to factor in things like changing interest rates to make sure that your borrowing capacity will be sufficient by the time that you need it. The next one is PDX. So PDX is a range of homes that we offer at Porter Davis that is all about simplicity, affordability, and certainty. With this particular range of homes, we are 100% upfront in our costings. What you see online is what you pay. Everything is digital, and you get the ability to fully customize your experience with designer-led color palettes. Lifestyle is a range of homes that we have also provided around the affordability space. This particular range of homes is going to allow you to have a little bit more customization. But here's the warning, the more you customize, the more expensive it's going to be. And that's just a standard fact with any builder. At Porter Davis, we also offer townhomes. So townhomes starting from about $450,000 in key locations around the state. So these ones here are a great alternative because it's all the fast done and dusted for you. You simply pick the block that you want to live on and you get to go through from a townhome as little as 10% deposit with 90% payable once construction is complete. So one contract here. House and land we've touched on. At Porter Davis, we have relationships with key developer partners across the state. So we get access to the best blocks available and we package the best houses on them for you. And then Porter Davis Real Estate. So this actually is a really great program for you guys if you are looking at buying something pretty established. You get to buy a house that is currently under construction. You get to move in within 90 days of your purchase. It's a one-part contract, so you're paying 5% upfront and nothing else until you physically move in. With these ones here, these are brand new homes at full turnkey with nothing to worry about along the way. So from here, I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek of what that all looks like, so I'll hand over to my friend. Just having some technical difficulties, so just bear with us for a minute, guys. That's pretty much a wrap, guys. So we've got a team of specialists just in the middle booth over there waiting to be part of your toolkit, and we'd love to hear from you. So once again, on behalf of all of the Porter Davis specialists, thank you very much for your time, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Before you go, I just wanted to see if anybody has any questions for Eddie. I mean, he did a really beautiful presentation. You did say before you came on that you loved talking. I'm going to say I loved listening.
Thank you.
I think you're really missing out. You should tell bedtime stories so people could listen to recordings. Does anyone, I got a nod from the front there, I love that. Does anyone have any questions for Eddie? We've got this wonderful opportunity to speak to him right here, right now. Anyone? Anything? No? That's totally fine. I think you just covered it, didn't you?
Thank you.
Good work.
If you guys do think of anything, please do feel free to come and see us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Eddie. I'll see you soon. That was really amazing.